But anyway, I'm going to head into the game, not going to worry about resetting or anything, although I am going to go through the options, and actually, I'll start the tutorial right here. Because the options are actually an important thing to note. Mostly this option that's flashing right here, no conversations. You should always turn that to on before you do a run. Because if no conversations is off, you'll get text dialog boxes that will delay your run. Now I will say when playing casually, do it the other way. Why? The conversations are hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. It's a nice fun thing to see. They're just really funny the whole way through. But when you're actually doing a run, you turn it to no conversations on. And don't practice the other way because it will screw up your timing and feel for what happens when you wake up a boss. Because when you wake up a boss is when one of the conversations happens, and having that additional quote-unquote help to know when you've woken up the boss will actually change how you fight the boss. But it's a lot quicker to not have the conversation at all. You'll save probably a full 2 or 3 minutes through the run just from that step. Otherwise, control mode. Always this one. So what does this mean? So there are 2 control modes for this game. One of them is only using 2 buttons for firing your weapons, and one button will fire in front of you and the other button will fire behind you with respect to where you are currently moving. This is terrible. Absolutely terrible. There's no reason to ever have it set to that. Not even casually. It's just terrible. Have it set this way. What does this mean? Well, basically the 4 face buttons on the Dreamcast pad or whatever alternate pad you may have plugged into your Dreamcast. Like, for example, I run on a PS2 controller. Yes, this is on real hardware. How is that? Well, I'll show you. This is a total control adapter from EMS that allows you to, as you can see, plug in a VMU on one side, so you actually still get saves, and a PS2 controller. And there's a switch on the side. Having the switch in different places actually alters the exact mapping of the controller. The switch in the middle is by far the best for this game at least. And that maps the PlayStation controller, if that's what you're running, with the D-pad as the D-pad of your Dreamcast controller. The analog stick here as the first analog stick, which you actually don't want to use in this game. Well, I did play with the Dreamcast controller a lot. In fact, I have a few really good Dreamcast controllers, but I started to experience that same problem when I played with it that long. Like, after hours and hours, it was starting to hurt my hands holding it the way I did. So, I decided to look for another option. This is the option I came up with, which is it's actually a Hyperkin Warrior post-market PS2 controller. It's surprisingly good for Bangai-O because unlike most normal PS2 controllers, it has a standard style D-pad as opposed to the 4-button D-pad, which I'll be honest, I kind of hate. Anyway, okay, so how it maps, for those who might be interested, is simply the D-pad is the D-pad. First analog is the first analog. I actually turn off the analog sticks on this because the analog button on the PS2 controller does work, turn them on and off, and I don't use the analog when playing this game because it just kind of gets in the way. The analog actually fires, if you didn't know, if you do have it turned on or using it. And then the 4 face buttons are the properly arranged 4 face buttons, and you use L1 and R1, which is a little odd. I wish it was L2 and R2, but it's L1 and R1. That's how it maps it. To do your, L and R triggers on the Dreamcast controller. Anyway, that's how it's set up, that's how it works, and that's how I use the controller that I use. And yes, it's a little bit odd using a PS2 controller for Dreamcast. I can play it as well on the Dreamcast, but it hurts my hands if I, do 12 runs in a row, and I didn't like that, and it plays just as well with this as it does with the real Dreamcast controller. The only thing that's weird is if you actually wanted to use the info on a VMU for the games that's useful for, you'd have to keep your total control adapter near you. I also have a similar one for a Saturn controller, which is actually really good for fighting games. Anyway, so now that's the options menu and my explanation of my control choices. So, one of the other things about the game you've probably noticed if you've watched any of my runs is that before I do a run, I always click the Clear Scores button, go to Yes, and hit the button. This clears out your scores. Now, what's really funny is that it always swaps the control mode back to XA. So make sure after you clear scores, you go back to put it up to ABXY. That's the right setting. That it's always the right setting. I don't know why the game does this. It's mildly annoying. Anyway, so after you've done that, it's time to start the game. You enter your initials. So, entering your initials pretty much doesn't matter. You can enter whatever you want. I start the time. Oh, I'm later than this, so you're not on a clock yet. I start the time when you first gain control of your character in the first level. That's what I've written as the rules, since I am now the moderator of the Bangai-O board. Well, one of the two. I did not try to remove the other moderator, but he promoted me to one. The other moderator is the previous world record holder, Nick Liria. I still never actually talked to him, but I did interact with him, at least in an interesting and bit of a way, that I kept submitting the new runs that had, the first one that barely beat his run, and now my runs that are now 16 minutes faster. And in the early days, he would actually have to watch them and verify them. Although, then he just updated me to moderator, probably so he doesn't have to deal with it bluntly. Anyway, so there's one interesting thing about entering your initials. So if you enter this into your initials, that's actually a secret code in this game. That unlocks all levels. Great for practice. Don't do it for a run, because then you can screw up. Because one of the advantages of starting a run, in the normal manner, I usually just hit start and leave it at AAA. One of the advantages of that is that, although you could actually go back to a previous level, you can't accidentally go to a level you shouldn't be going to yet, or accidentally skip a level. Because you totally can miss menu. The menu in the levels is very simple. There's start, exit, and a grayed out view map. What is the view map, and why is it grayed out? Well, it becomes not grayed out once you've completed a level, and once you've already completed that level, you can actually use the view map function to look around the map of the level, which is sometimes useful, especially in my early routing of this game. It taught me a lot just looking around the levels using view map. Anyway, so I'm going to start out and start to explain how a movement works. So, right when that text dialog box goes away, that's when you start time. Because that's when you gain control of your character. That's the visual cue I use. So, you've already got random bots floating around. Doesn't really matter. So, if you're on the ground, you walk. Walking is the same speed as normal movement. But one of the big things about this game is dashing. Dashing is twice as fast as normal movement. But the weird thing about dashing is that when you are dashing left or right and you hit a diagonal, you keep your dash, but only in the direction you're dashing in. Same if you dash to the, if you dash down. You can dash diagonal, and dashing diagonal actually gives you perfect double movement towards the diagonal. But if you're dashing left and you adjust to the diagonals, I'll just keep myself alive with that. Doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of screwing around here. So you can dash diagonal, which is interesting. But if you are dashing in a direction and you adjust only one adjustment away from that direction, you continue to hold your dash speed in the direction you are dashing and the full dash speed in that direction, but also add the adjustment towards the other direction, which is kind of interesting and allows you to really quickly dodge little bits when you're moving, which is often really useful for especially getting yourself in the right place to hit a boss. Now, one of the other things you may notice is that when you take damage in this game, there is no iframes. Take damage, no iframes. You push back a little bit, and it halts your movement, takes you out of dash mode. So if you want to get a dash after you get attacked, you have to re-dash. Yeah, those bots are really weak. Anyway, you can fire in 8 directions very easily. Firing is simple. You fire at exactly 15 shots per second, in case it matters to you. Usually you don't think about that, but it is the case. In other words, you fire really, really, really fast, and it's automatic. Just hold down the buttons. You can fire in whatever direction you want. There are 2 methods of fire. The first one, the sort of default one, only because you start with it, and you start with both of them easily accessible, is homing missiles. These missiles fly around, and as you can see, they have the little smoke trails behind them. They're kind of largest sprites for each shot. What does that mean? That means they cause lag. Yeah. So, the other firing mode, bouncing lasers. As you can see, it's a much simpler drawn item. Sure, you've got these really long trails behind it, but there's less pixels to it, and there isn't a big missile in the front of it, so it actually causes a lot less lag to fire the bouncing lasers. Which is why most of the run, when I'm not fighting bosses or in a very few specific levels where I need the homing capability, staying with the bouncing lasers is considerably faster. Also, if you do have to be this character, don't fire unless you have to, except for one more odd exception. So, when there are things on the screen, they cause lag. I don't care what it is. Any box, any enemy, or any destructible item at least. Any item on the screen that you can possibly destroy, which is pretty much everything except for the borders of the level. Like this is the border of a level, comparatively. But like all these objects, they cause lag. You don't notice it that much except in aggregate. But if you're moving around and you're down where there's all kinds of stuff, destroying it as you go as much as you can without slowing down your movement pattern actually does make it so it's faster when moving through that area and doing that thing. So this is a game where lag reduction is huge. Absolutely huge. Because there's so much lag. And you wouldn't think there'd be that much lag on a 2D game on the Dreamcast, but there is so much lag. So these things I'm picking up there, those are energy refills, and as you may have noticed, they were being generated by a generator. Now the generators in this game can generate any other object other than generators, which is kind of funny. So you can find generators for anything in this game. Power-ups, buildings, technically. Yeah, there are generators that generate buildings. I think they only use those once or twice. There are generators that generate a missile turret, and therefore they can't generate another until you destroy it, but then they will generate another of the same missile turret, on their cooldown. There are generators that generate undestroyable blocks, which can be really annoying in a few levels and actually cause soft locks. Yeah, there are indestructible blocks in this game, and there are ways that they can cause soft locks in certain levels. I'll explain those as we get to those levels. But at the moment, I'm just kind of going around blowing stuff up. Just showing off how the movement mechanics of this game can work. Now, all of this, for this level, all the stuff I've done so far, completely useless. If you've watched level 1, you know that I don't do any of this. Other than right when you start right here, you go this way, and you fire downwards at an angle. I usually just stay with the character with the homing missiles, although it probably would be like maybe a quarter second faster if I switched to the bouncing laser character and then switched to him. It's just kind of, a bad habit I got into. Anyway, so you go over and fight the boss. Usually send a few, usually you try to get one perfect super at him. That's the fastest way to do it. As you can see, I actually moved a little too far away and got a little small of a super and had to do two. By far away from what, you ask? Well, your super strength is determined by the amount of enemy fire near you when you do a super. For those who aren't familiar with the controls, super is R, the R trigger, and L trigger is how you switch. Anyway, so that is perfect. That is exactly the amount you want. Because it actually only takes 100 to kill him, but any enemy missiles can counter yours, just like yours can counter any enemy missiles. There is no fire in this game from any enemies that you can't block. With the exception of fire bars, you can't block those. But fire bars don't do that much damage, and there is a clean way of not taking damage from them, which is by doing a super in them, which always merits a max super. It's actually a very useful thing in many stages. So, although I did already do it perfectly, or pretty much perfectly, I'm going to explain and do level 1. Because that's pretty much the basics of the game, so we're going to start with level 1. So, when starting with level 1, you start with this character. It would actually be quickest to switch to this character and do it this way. So, as you're going, you fire downwards on your way in. Why? Lag reduction. Switch to this guy, because you need the missile to home, and fire one super with some approximate of between 100 and 180 missiles. That was actually a little slow because I got 190. He is anywhere between 100 and 180, can give you, depending on his movement, which is RNG, the maximum, the best possible for time. So, level 2 is a little more interesting. It is a lot more to it. So, you start out level 2 and you immediately switch to the bouncing laser character, as you almost always do to begin most levels. So, you kill those things that generate the lasers. Dive down here and kill those lasers. I actually got a little less of a super than I wanted, but you can dash through that little bit that way if you need to. I'm actually going to restart and show you again because as it wasn't quite going as I wanted it to, because I'm focusing more on my explanation. Anyway, so we'll start with this character. Go up here, break those 3 lasers. You can fire diagonally up to get those lasers. So you do 1 super to get down through that bit, and another super to get through that bit. Now, when you go through here, it's like that part that I just did, going up through those diagonal lasers. The way that I do that is as follows. 1, you have to be dashing, otherwise it won't work. Why? Can't tell you, but it's the truth. So, as long as you are dashing, what I do is actually mash between these 2 buttons. The, button that fires to the right and the button that fires up. And, well, actually, I go between in usually like effectively releasing one and pressing it again and again. So I'm switching between diagonal and sideways fire, and that guarantees that you'll actually get through those lasers well. When you're trying to dash past diagonal lasers, it's a little bit trolly. Horizontal lasers are easy. You can just always get past horizontal lasers by just firing diagonally. But diagonal lasers can be a little trolly and kind of seem to block you randomly. And that's the most consistent way I've seen to just dash through the diagonal lasers rather than being forced to take the time to destroy them. Anyway, so once you get to this point in the level, you switch characters. And with this one, you try to get the biggest possible super you can, and you make sure that you are a little bit farther away from the wall to try to pull him away from that back wall. Because if he's too close to that back wall, your stupid homing missiles will go target random buildings and stuff that are on that wall. And so you want to pull him a little bit away from the wall by waking him up and moving a little bit back as he fires that string of missiles at you. And then you prefer to try to stay in the same place as well as you can. However, that's kind of difficult in Bangai-O because of how the movement works. You see, in Bangai-O, if you stop moving, you fall downwards because it's technically a side view game. However, you can move in any of the directions, and it doesn't matter which speed you're moving. You're not moving like you're working against gravity, except when you stop moving. So, one of the best ways to do it is to keep a level plane and switch between left and right. And that switches between the level plane and allows you to be very, very near the missiles when he fires them, because you want to be very, very, very near the missiles and fire your super. That's how you do the level 2 boss. Now the level 3 boss is more complex. So we're going to go into level 3. So, there's a lot of annoying red bots that are kind of trolly. So, on level 3, I actually stay as the character with the homing missiles when doing my approach, because the homing missiles do a pretty good job of moving them off. You could technically be faster not doing that. So, the thing about this boss is you actually do have to react in real time effectively to what he's doing. The way to beat this boss is, well, a little more complex than a lot. The best possible way, if you can get it, is to go about where I went, get one super off after his string, and then to have him reply at just the right time with one of his all-around, with his super instead of his string, and get in that super and do one really big attack, and then have him land on you rather than fall to the bottom of the stage. That's how the gold in that stage is achieved. However, there's a lot of RNG that makes that not nearly possible every time. The way I did it there was probably nearly the fastest possible to beat that boss that way, due to the RNG that was available. So there's a lot of figuring out how to react to what the game throws at you when you face the bosses that actually move. But that stage is pretty much just about the boss, other than stay with homing missiles on the approach, go a little bit up on your way there. But then there's the boss and knowing how to deal with them. Anyway, that was a pretty good show of doing pretty well with pretty poor RNG. So, level 4 is another one that is very RNG dependent. Now, it's, there isn't that much interesting tech in the approach of it other than, keeping your dash up and just moving. Like, that first part, you want to only be destroying one row of blocks. It's a little faster. And then you just dive through and try to get almost exactly on top of the boss and try to get the biggest super reply you can when he actually gives you an attack like that. And that'll be big enough to kill him. Yep. That was another, mildly bad RNG, but the RNG wasn't directly the boss's movement or anything like that, but was how my missiles hit his and when he did the super. Because I wasn't able to stop my missiles right before his super, which is the most preferred, and allows you to possibly get the kill that was gold in that stage. Which, how that kill works is you dive down, you fire at him a while, and then you move back while you're doing so he's just off screen. Then he comes up on screen and does a super, and when you see him coming on screen, you can stop firing missiles soon enough, if you're lucky, and you get the perfect timing, mind you. But part of that's RNG, not just the way you do it. And if you get that perfect timing, he has a full-size super coming at you, then you can get a, 400 max-size super. Yeah, the maximum of the supers is 400. It's between 40 when you don't have any enemy fire, and 400 is the maximum when you have a lot of enemy fire near you. And one 400 super that he does not do another super to reply to kills him immediately. That's how gold was achieved. That I got that a few times in runs. I've gotten it twice in a run and twice more in practice. That's how rare it is. You see that number up there, 715? That's the amount of actual timed runs I've done. And most of those have gotten to level 4. And I've also practiced that level a lot more offline. So it's really, really, really rare to get the gold in that stage. Don't beat yourself up and trying to get it. It's a waste of time. That was a pretty good fight and would certainly be good enough to continue a run with, even though it's way off of gold. So this stage is probably one of the simplest stages in the game. There's a little bit of timing and tech at the end of it, but most of the stage is absolutely dead simple. How do we do it? So, wait for the stage to start. They do have load times. Oh, also, another thing, you can actually buffer a dash input before a stage starts, so you start the stage dashing. Always do this. So, you get about there, fire one super, fire one just before you would touch the core, and then fire another one touching the core. That is the fast way to do that stage. That is about perfect. I mean, it's to the 10th perfect. That's always going to be about the same, like to the 10th, if you do it that way. It's a very simple stage. There isn't much tech to it. Just the exact spacing. Watch how where I did those 3 supers. So, the next stage is kind of similar in that there isn't that much tech to it. You can screw it up a little easier, though. So, you notice the exact positioning where I was to kill that, to open the door, to kill that generator. And after that, you run at the boss, do that one super from within the boss, because that actually reduces lag, because the missiles never appear that hit him directly. And trying to pull away from him right after you do the super also reduces lag just a touch. And it's a little bit, perfect with the positioning. You do have to get between those big missiles on his front. If you don't, they do damage you and will screw up your strat. But that one is almost as consistent as level 5. It's very simple, easy, and consistent. The next one, although it's still sort of one of the tutorial levels, as I like to call it, is actually a level with a lot of pretty perfect movement tech. It can actually be a little bit difficult to execute it perfectly. So, generally, you fly through the stage quickly, killing things. You do that one very quick switch there to be able to fire through the blue. That's the most consistent, although not the very fastest way to do that, with killing the bombs that come out of that generator. You have to use them to kill the green squares that are next to you. You can't go through those green squares. But the bombs can kill the green squares. It's always consistent to kill a bomb with a super like that, But you can do it a little faster if you switch to the homing missiles and use those to ensure you kill the bomb and sneak past without doing a super. It's probably half a second faster, but it's very hard to execute and not very consistent, so I don't even do it. After that, you go around that green in, the little green squares that are left and go into all those lasers. Usually I fly past the first pair of lasers and use the second one to set up a super that hits the core. And you have to, right after you do the super, dash to the core so the core actually takes the damage when you hit it. And then do either one or two, depending on the size of super you got in the lasers. There's more supers, or possibly 3 if your super is really bad, to get through it. It does have a moderate amount of variation, and, well, it's not the easiest. So, level 8. Level 8, the tech is almost entirely beating the boss. Getting through the stage is moderately simple. You fly around and kill bomb trails so you can progress. That's how the stage works. You have all these bomb trails, you have to kill them to progress. It's possible to sneak between those falling blocks, but it's really difficult and I don't even usually bother to try it. Remember where all of these bars are set off? Bottom, top, top, bottom. And that's the stage part. Very simple, right? So then you get to this guy. He's the first guy who fires bouncing lasers at you as an enemy. Now, the bouncing lasers are interesting because they're kind of tricky. They hit you a little bit before you'd expect them to. Like, the hitboxes on them are a little bit off. They hit you before they would appear to hit you on the screen, just by a little bit. You'll have to take that into account when, well, trying to not die against that boss. Now, that was a pretty decent kill of him. And the trick generally is you have to not fire at him at first, because you can always get a max reply even to his base shot. So, let him do his, normal string of shots at you. Do a, max super reply, most of which won't hit him because you've got all the other bots around and that confuses your homing missiles and they kind of go everywhere. But that's okay because you want to kill all those things anyway so they don't get in the way. And then end up doing at least one more max super to his super that he does in reply to yours. You probably will need a third super, but you can possibly kill him on the second. That's pretty much level 8. So, I'm going to go onwards to level 9. Now, level 9, I'll be honest, the strat is something I've worked on a surprising amount of time, and I'm still not that happy with my strat on this level. Now, I'll show you how I do it now, and then I'll explain the other things I've tried. So how I do it now is moderately simple, although I missed the initial dash, which costs you about probably 0.2 of a second. So, go around the boss, do as big of a super as I can, and do supers till he dies. Now that's pretty simple, it's very consistent, and it works decently. However, there is a method that can, with good RNG, be faster. And I'm going to go back into the stage and show you what the RNG method involves. So, the RNG method is to kill him with one attack by replying to an attack that he will send out the front. I'll show you what it looks like. So we'll be around here, we'll fire some missiles, try to actually get the attack to bait out. That's not it, that one's it. See that big fireball? That's how you reply to the fireball. You can actually be right on top of it, which gives you a max super, but he only requires about 200 missiles to kill, so you would pull a bit away from it to get perfect. And when he fires that, is pretty much RNG. The gold in that stage was when he fired one nearly immediately. It's actually faster than doing my strat every single time. I will never beat that gold because I don't do that strat anymore. You can play with the RNG if you want. It's, the RNG is about a second faster than my consistent strat. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to get a big enough super with the consistent strat to need less than 2. But you should, as long as you do it right, probably need only 2, but you might need 3. And don't worry too much if you need 3, just keep jamming super till it's done. So, on to the next one. So the next one is moderately easy when you've watched it and understand what's going on. So the bombs have a fair area of effect and can and will damage you when you set them off, like that one. You've got all these little bomb trails that you've got to set off and go in the right directions. Almost always that super is necessary to get through all those trophy bots that are in the way. So, as you see, I'm just kind of breaking my way through bomb trails, not worrying too much about the bits of damage I take while doing so, and using diagonals to get my bouncing lasers to bounce to the right place to kill the bombs, to get through the trails. Well, missed that. That was actually bad. You don't want that bot to get in the way. So that actually wasn't the right way to kill that core. The quickest way to kill that core is to wait for the enemy bots that are in with the core to fire a few shots at you and get a one-shot kill of the core, basically. But I'm not going to redo the whole level to show you that because it's pretty simple and it works pretty much the same. So, next level is level 11 with actually one of the most major bits of speed tech in the early game, the falling block skip. So, I'll show you and explain what's going on as I get there. I'm going to pause before it and tell you about it. The rest of the level is pretty simple, actually. Now, I will say, there's one thing that is fun when you watch my runs, is I actually have a little fun thing I do in this level that actually loses time. What's that? This. I do a super on that fire bar. It's actually the first fire bar you see in the game. It's fun, it's tradition, it's swag. It actually loses time. Completely useless. Doesn't actually do anything. It does fill your super meter, but you don't need it, so it's not really useful at all. If you want to do the fastest possible strats, you don't have to do my little tradition, but it's fun, so it's kind of one of those like this validates the run sort of things in my mind. So here is where we go for the skips. Now I'm about to break a bomb trail that will make those blocks, those purple blocks you see, fall. There's actually 2 more bomb trails similar to that one, and you have to break them through blue, like the little blue squares, so you have to use missiles to do it, rather than the bouncing lasers. Now, when those blocks start to fall, they can be interrupted by the bots below them, and or if you are nearly frame perfect, you can sneak an attack from a super through them. In which case, you can hit the bomb trail that would block the blocks from falling and effectively skip having to break them the standard expected way for the stage. I'm going to try to do that. We'll see how well that goes. And I'll, explain the ramifications of stuff. In general, the skips here, the falling block skips here, are worth approximately 12 seconds in the run. So, now we set it off, and we did get it because one of the bots was nice. We got it via RNG, which is actually the fastest way to get it. Doing the frame perfect attack is actually a touch slower because you always stay still when you do a super attack, and so it's about a half second slower to have to do the frame perfect super attack than getting the RNG. But it is RNG based on the movement of those little red bots that are below the falling blocks. That's what you hope it looks like, and if you try to force the skip, it will force you into a lot of resets at level 11, because like I said, it's pretty much a frame perfect trick trying to get it, and doing that usually puts you out of position from getting it in the RNG manner, and the RNG manner can block the frame perfect attack from working. So it's almost you have to choose one or the other, and I usually don't even reset if I don't get it and just kind of take the loss. But if you want the absolute perfect time, you'd probably have a lot of resets in 11. In fact, you'd probably have a million resets between 2 through 4, especially 3 and 4, just getting the boss RNG right. Anyway, level 12. Level 12 is a pretty simple one. We'll head through that next. So, as always, dash input to start. And pretty much you just have to kind of fly around in a weird circle to get directly below where you started. It is a cycle-based level, and the fact that if you are a little slow, the missiles will screw you up. You go on top of this boss, and there's a little bit of RNG. I actually got the bad RNG there. If you get the good RNG, you only have to do 3 super attacks to kill him. If you get the bad RNG, you have to do 4. Just keep spamming super until the level's done. It works. But even the bad RNG only costs you like 3/4 of a second. It's not bad. But the good RNG does save you 3/4 of a second. Anyway, there's not much to say about that level, so on to level 13. 15, your dash input should be up, and you go through this as quickly as possible, hopefully not having that bot get in the way and troll you like that, and kill those backwards facing bomb trails and that bomb trail. Those are all required. If you miss one, you cannot finish the stage. Literally. Well, you'd have to go back and get it, basically. And if you set off the fourth bomb trail, having missed one of the ones up top, you just won't be able to finish the stage because the fourth bomb trail will go too fast. Now, your speed during that portion, the lower portion, almost doesn't matter, except that you have to beat this bomb trail here. You have to wait for the bomb trail anyway, so you can afford to be a little bit, gingerly if you need to be. And then you have to go through that just as the bomb trail just goes past it and do 2 supers. Exactly 2. If you do a third, it actually adds lag. Yeah, and keep firing at the core after you do the 2 supers. It does require just a little more than 2 supers, but it's quicker to just fire through it rather than and do a third super. So 14. I've got kind of a new strat for 14 as compared to how I used to do it in my earlier runs. The last 2 world records included it, but no, actually only the latest world record includes the new strat for 14. And it doesn't get it perfectly. Yeah, actually it doesn't get it perfectly at all, but it attempts it correctly. But it's an RNG-based strat that can fail, but when it fails, it hasn't really cost you anything. Unless you die, of course. So, how you do that is you try to stay below him to try to hold him in here, and try to keep him in here and continue to do max supers until they kill him, like that. If you get it perfectly, you also go under him to get the perch, as I call it, when the boss falls on you rather than falling all the way to the ground. The perch saves another second. That was actually an extremely good level, and that's basically how the strat works, other than the fact that I didn't move under him and get the perch, because if I did, it would have been more likely that he would have killed me. So I did it a touch safely. But that is how that level is supposed to work. That's how the strat works. You want him to stay in there. You want to stay and use the bouncing lasers to kill him because it's the only thing that makes sense when you're inside a little tiny corridor like that. If he goes out of there and goes downwards, you're going to want to switch to the homing missiles and kill him that way. And you're probably losing 10 to 15 seconds. So if you're, trying to do the absolute perfect run, you probably just reset then. But if you do want to continue and or you're at a marathon, you just switch to the homing missiles and kill him. So this one, yet another really simple level. Switch to homing missiles, input your dash, keep firing up, 2 supers. And it actually went wrong mildly, probably because I wasn't firing up right when I started. So I'm going to show you that again doing it right, because you have to be firing up as well as dashing up right as you start. Otherwise, you're actually a few missiles short. So I'm going to show you that again, doing it correctly. Because it should be an extremely, extremely, exact level. It's always the same. That's how it looks. That is how you do that level. There is no way to do it faster. There's no variance. That level is within a tenth every time. As long as you do it right and do exactly those things. Very simple. So, on to 16, one of the first major, real major pathing levels, past 11. Has a lot of interesting pathing. Casually, it's sort of a puzzle level, but because we've already effectively solved those puzzles before we even start, we know what we need to do. We just need to execute it, and it does actually take some time. Now, that can be oddly trolly. You might want to make sure to stay there till you've fired at least 2 or 3 missiles, because that, breaking the part that I had to break through the blue is oddly trolly. So, dashing through there, killing that, killing that. Now, one odd warning, those 3 falling blocks there can soft lock you if you get into them just wrong. So watch out for the falling blocks, try not to have them fall on you. Not here in the first portion. Here you cannot be soft locked, there's no way that actually does it that I've discovered, or at least I have never been soft locked here. If it can happen, I've never had it happen. So, yeah, you get through those as quickly as possible, killing the bomb trails so the right things drop. You have to dash through here, wait for that row to fall, go against it, wait for the next row to fall. Go over this way, up this way, super here, back down, kill some things because they're in the way, dash through there, up through here, super to kill those, quick character swap to shoot through the blue, around this fire bar rather than through it, wait for those, fly up here, do a super, go down, and diagonal kill that so it doesn't bother you, wait for the bomb trail, like that. That's how you do that level. That was actually almost perfect. I could have done specifically the second falling block portion when you get to the lower path and start coming back up. Breaking through the sections of falling blocks. I could have done the second one faster. I didn't quite execute it right. But otherwise, that's exactly how you do that level. 17. So, this one is yet another pretty much pure pathing level. So, you have to kill all the lasers that are on the wall to open the door. And then, you want to kill all of these lasers. You kind of get 2 chances to do it since you got to dash through twice anyway, to be able to get through that shaft at the end. You could, technically, after killing only one side, try to force your way through the shaft. It's not a great idea. I don't suggest it. It is much better and easier to just kill both sides of the shaft. Because there are just too many lasers, and it's pretty much RNG whether you get through it. So, once you go through the shaft, you have to make sure to fire straight down to kill that single missile launcher. Go down here. Ideally, what you want to do is only kill the bomb trap on the left, but you only lose about 3/4 of a second if you also accidentally kill the bomb trap on the right. And, do biggest supers you can after you get missiles out of the bomb traps and kill the core. So, next is this one. I'm going to pause at a few points on this one and explain because, it's weird diving through lasers and stuff. So, this first part, you have to fire this way to kill that missile launcher. Now, that super there, required. Because you got missiles going both ways, you need to kill all those. And you could technically get yourself perfectly pathed and just kill them with straight laser shots, but it's not easy and it would be very likely to kill your run, so it's not consistent enough, so I always do that super there. That should be, it's one of the only 2 supers you do to get to the end boss if you're doing it perfectly. However, you'll do 2 more in safe strats. Continuing. So, that is the safe strat super. You try to actually get through that without having to do that super. But if you have to do it, don't feel bad. It loses you about 2 or 3 seconds, but it at least keeps you alive. Continuing. Right there that I just passed, that is the second safe strat super. If you get through it, on time, it's kind of cycle-based. So if you get through it fast enough, you'll get through before the missiles fire. If the missiles do fire when you're still there, just do the super. You're going to lose a bit. Thanks, Sid, although good luck isn't really that appropriate. I'm kind of doing a tutorial here, but thank you in any case. Anyway. Hey, so that portion is where you would do the second safe strat super, and it might be smart if you're trying to do, say, marathon strats, just do the super there. Continuing. So, going down through here, that super is actually the fastest way to get through there because it breaks the bomb trail consistently. Otherwise, it gets really trolly trying to break that bomb trail, so it's better to just do the super. So, now, wake him up. Fun fact, you might recognize that boss. He's actually the little bot that you see in the end of every stage. Yeah, it's the only place he is in the game, though. And what I mean is that guy. See? That was the boss of that stage. That dude right there. Anyway. The strat for that boss is pretty simple. You wait for a good amount of missiles to do your first super, and then just keep doing supers till he's dead, trying to kind of curve towards his missiles to make them a little bigger. So, this stage. This stage is a lot determined by the RNG. So, we start out, it actually doesn't matter that much which character you are here, but I usually just stay with the bouncing lasers because, well, it's easier. Pick up that invincibility power. Run down to the boss. Try to stay on top of him as best you can. Use dashes if you have to. stay on top of right where he is. I did it perfectly. A lot of it's determined on RNG because it's his movement, which is completely RNG. That was pretty much perfect. But if your invincibility power up runs out before you kill the boss, you will do one super in reply to his attacks. It's usually much more lag efficient, but a little less safe to just do it with the bouncing lasers. But you've usually done enough damage that'll kill. But if you think that one super from the bouncing lasers won't kill him, switch to doing a homing missile attack that always will kill him. It's very rare that you would have to do that, but maybe you would. On to level 20. So, this one, it is surprisingly difficult to get perfect. And if you do it a little imperfect, your problem is that you'll probably run out of supers. So, start out, you're going to need the missiles. I just switched to it early, but that's where you needed them for, is to get through that blue. So, go up here. Hitting that line of red and mines there does actually help you because it gives you another super, basically. Diving through all of these, you can use supers if things are being dangerous to you. There are bombs in there that will damage you. Among that, that blue stuff, it's kind of trolly. And you can kill him if you get the fire bar perfect by doing a super using the fire bar. Notice I wasn't quite in the fire bar, it was a little on top of it to get the minimum possible super to kill him. Him being the core. That was actually really fast. It wasn't perfect because I took, bits of damage which slow you down, but it was pretty good. But the problem is if you do supers to defend yourself in a lot of the earlier portions, like to kill those lasers that are in the way that I just kind of dashed through by firing at the right angle, you're going to run out of supers and then you're going to die. So that is a stage that is likely to kill you. Anyway, on to this one. This one's easy. This one, you pretty much got to open 2 doors, break 2 bomb trails, and get where you're going. So, dash up, dash to the right angle up to get to that fast as possible. 2 supers, and kill the bomb trail. Wait for the bomb trail, defend yourself, even though you don't really need to because you're not going to take enough damage to matter anyway. Go up, try to get exactly on top of him. Do, hopefully, 4 supers, 5 if you screw it up. That's the level. That's all there is to it. That was actually perfect. That's nearly gold. If I was, actually timing this. So, 22. 22 is trolly as heck, and I'm going to pause at the very beginning to show you why. So, I didn't pause quite fast enough, but you see those bots on the bottom of the screen and the row that's already fallen. So there's various purple ones and a few yellow ones. They fall right at the bottom of the screen. That's your target. You need to kill those to open the blue door that's right above them. The objective of this stage is to kill all of those, get in the blue door. There's a core behind it. You have to kill it. So, they move by complete RNG. They can go wherever they want. There's a few places they're very common to go because gravity, but they can go anywhere they want. This stage, if it goes wrong, can lose you up to a minute. Anyway, I'll show you. So, it's often good to do a super there because that bot there is usually one of the ones you actually have to kill, the one that's to the right there. This is a stage where running out of supers is a problem. You've got to make sure to manage them well. So actually do some kills without just using the supers. That was all the bots. So I go up and have enough super meter to do the 2 supers that you want to do to kill the core. You probably only want to do 2 supers, even though that's a little less than it takes to kill the core, and just kill it with shots. That was actually really, really, really good for that stage. It can be a lot trollier. So, 23. The main tech for 23 is very, very simple. So, when you start up, buffer your typical, dash up. Up is where you're going. And do a little tiny juke, either to the right or to the left. It doesn't actually matter. Go up. Watch for missiles coming at you from the bottom. Sometimes there are. If there are, you do have to counter them to not die. That's what happens if it goes wrong. I didn't counter the missiles coming from the bottom soon enough. And, well, I died. So I'll show you again doing it correctly. You do want to back off just a little bit when you're going to break the bomb trail, or it damages you, knocks you back, and gets in your way. Get on top of the boss, spam supers. You have to keep holding up to stay on top of the boss, otherwise you'll fall, because, you know, weird mechanics of this game. Just keep spamming supers till it's dead. Exact perfect positioning or getting lucky and having lots of missiles around you to do a little bit bigger supers can speed it up a little bit. And by a little bit, we actually mean a fair bit, because you can actually save a super if you get it perfectly. But a lot of that's luck. So, 24. Now, what's really funny is that I think I've been misrouting 24 when I've done my previous runs. I was watching back my world record run, and I think, although I haven't really practiced it yet to prove it, there may be a faster way. I'm actually going to try it while doing this, and, well, I'll let you know. I'll just do the level again if I don't do it the right way. You know, if doing the new strat isn't perfect. So, this is another level that's a lot about managing your supers. Because you have to bust through all kinds of rows of robots. And with a lot of the weaker robots, a lot of times it's better and faster to, rather than use a super, bust through them that way. When they're firing at you, you can use that to get bigger supers, as always. These ones are faster to super through. I've got exactly enough supers, so I can do that. You get that perfect. If you don't have enough supers, you can actually get a max super off of those missiles firing back at you, and that'll refill your super meter if you're worried about that. As a kind of a backup strat, because it is slow. Whoops, I'm actually going the old route, which I'll show you first, and then I'll go try the new route. This is actually the normal route that I would always go, but the deviation is just before this point. So I'll show you what I think will be the fastest route after this. That was actually a little late on that super. You don't want that anywhere near that big. It was okay, but it wasn't great. That was perfect. That super, for whatever reason, causes a ton of lag. That one's not as laggy. So anyway, you pretty much use one super per row, 2 if you have to. That's the objective, and you want them small enough to not lag. Those 150s are a little too big. You want about 120 or 130. 130 is a fine number too. 180 was too big, caused lag. And then you go up here, super boss core till it's dead. So, we're going to retry this level and show you the new strat that I'm not completely sure works, but I think is actually faster. Whoops, I actually started the wrong level. Give me a moment. I just started into the next level. We'll show you that one next. 25 is kind of interesting. Anyway, so I'm going to show you what I think is actually going to be faster. I'm going to try to integrate this into runs and time it and practice it. Because the first part of the stage will still be the same. All the way, you know, through this part. It's all the same. That's the same, that's the same. Do still have my super, so that's the same. Whoop, I did it a little late, but that's an example of that backup I talked about to refill your supers. Anyway, so what I think is faster, possibly, is going this way. Huh. Nope. I guess... Oh, that does open that way. Okay. So... that's not where you'd go from there. You have to go here, I guess. But yeah, this is the first time I'm trying this path live. So I didn't quite do it perfectly. But yeah, I think that's a little faster than picking up that invincibility power-up. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is, having done it now. Even doing it the way I just did it would have been faster, and the way I just did it was slower than it should be. So that's actually the new path for this level, I'm almost completely sure, and I will, you know, update people further on that path as I try it out more. Because, yeah, that's actually probably considerably faster. However, it does make you have to manage your supers a little more perfectly, because you don't get the free super refill of having the invincibility power-up. Anyway, like I said, I'm pretty sure that's actually faster, especially if executed perfectly, because mine wasn't. So I'm going to have to practice that stage a lot and integrate the new strat into my runs. So, 25. 25, I actually use an audio cue. It's the only level in the game which I use an audio cue. And you have to be firing as you go up, which actually lags you to get the audio cue perfectly. Did you hear it? Did you hear the change in the music when I fired that super? That's how I fire that super, based on that change in the music. That was actually a little bit the wrong strat of doing it, because that super was too big. The first super that I did, you actually want to be a little farther away, not get any bigger super from his missiles and do a minimum super. But it was somewhat acceptable, and would have been a decent way to do it. But that's pretty much how you do that level. So I'm going to explain and go through that with pausing again, because it's really fast and it just kind of blows through it. So we move up and we start. You have to buffer the dash and hold fire up to get the audio cue. You can hear the music change. That is the audio cue. And then when you do that super, what it does is that's what causes him to do the second super at you. And then you try to do another super at him just like that, get him to do the third super, and then do one big super and one small super. Ideally, you stay in the A right where he is so he perches on you, but it's not that bad if you don't. It only is like a half second for the perch on that level, because he probably will fall where you started on, which is quicker than falling all the way to the bottom of the level. Anyway, it was actually also better. That was actually how that's exactly supposed to look. So you go up to where I hear the audio cue, you do a super. That's actually right when you wake up the boss. And then that super causes him to do 2. He starts with 3 in the tank. Once he's done those 2 supers, you fly away, firing up at him to try to sort of deflect the missiles. They fly faster than you do. And once you've gotten far enough away that you've actually killed enough missiles and can safely do a super without getting extra in it, you do a super. And then that gets him to reply with his last super. And then you reply to that by getting right into it and doing a max super. And then you do one more super just in case, because he takes about 400 missiles to kill, and therefore just 400 missiles can be just short of killing him. Anyway, on to the next one. Welcome to level 26. Level 26 is really freaking trolly, and I will show you why. So, best way to do 26, you actually want to do a super before you wake the boss up. Why? Because that gets him to do a super right away. And then you get a super, you reply to his next super, you reply to his next super. It gets really freaking laggy because he fires like 800 missiles. That's not an exaggeration. He really does fire like 800 missiles. And he's being trolly and in the corner. That'll kill him. But he can get trolly and go down to those places. And you see, there are random unbreakable blocks falling in that level. He can trap himself under an unbreakable block. See, there's generators at the top of the screen that drop either bombs or unbreakable blocks. Some of the generators drop bombs, some drop unbreakable blocks. He can trap himself under an unbreakable block so that you cannot kill him. And it's a soft block and you have to reset the level. Anyway, that is generally an explanation of the strat for that level, but he's really trolly. And by the way, actually getting hit by his large amount of missiles, it will immediately kill you. But the missiles neither bounce nor seek, they're just dumbfire. So it's pretty easy to do strategy around them. Now, 27. 27 is a pretty simple little pathing level. It has something that's something of a skip, but it's intended. So, bouncing lasers, as usual on most of these levels, right? So, dive on through. Go over here. I missed it a little, so I'll have to do the mildly slower version. You can soft lock yourself with that, by the way. You do it wrong. That was actually the slower version of doing it. Go here, and then go down. So, this is the part that you kind of have to sneak through. Kill a few of the blocks, and sneak through. If you kill the wrong amount, you can block yourself there and have to go around and do it the slow way. And as you can see, you kill the core really fast because you're still in invincibility mode, and that kills the core really fast. That's how you do that level the right way. Doing it the wrong way, if you don't get that skip through, you have to go an insanely slow way that involves forcing missile turrets to hit bombs that are dropped by generators multiple times, because it's behind green blocks that you can't shoot through, but the enemies can. It's terrible, and it loses like a minute, full minute, not a joke. Like, it is faster to reset the level if you miss that. So, on to 28. 28 is another very trolly boss level. Even more complicated by the fact that his super is firing bouncing lasers. So, that's what he fires as a string. He fires homing missiles. And he fires bouncing lasers as his super. He can be really trolly, and the things around him are also really trolly, because there's all kinds of other stuff going on to confuse your missiles and get in the way. But generally, keep up a very high rate of fire and reply to his supers as quickly as you can with max supers. That is the fastest, consistent way to kill that boss. He's really trolly. Don't get too near him or he will kill you. So, 29. 29. 29 is the level I hate the most in the game. You have to kill every mobile bot that is not created by generators that starts in the level to get through all the doors. But the problem is the generators make bots that are the same colors, so you don't know the ones you don't have to kill, which gets really trolly. You have to be really careful, and every bot you see that's on the screen when you enter it, you have to kill. That's the way to do it. It's really hard to keep track of them all visually. Once they go back off the screen, you then have lost one, and once you've lost one, you have to effectively kill every bot that's coming onto your screen again. So, it sucks, and I'll show you the best ways to do it. 29 is the level I hate the most in this game. There's a lot of, I love this game, it's a great game. 29 is terrible. So, getting through that, you can sometimes do it with one super. By the way, super management really matters here. Killing extra random stuff is useful because you're going to run out of supers. So, as you see, as I'm going down, every bot I see that is below me, I kill. And especially every purple bot, because that's actually one advantage you have. Purple bots are not generated by any generators here. So if you see a purple bot, you must kill it. You know that it is one of the ones you need to kill. So, let's go see if I've opened the door yet. I did, good. I didn't lose any bots. That's actually kind of rare. So, that purple must be from the next section. Cool, I'll need to kill him. So, you go into the next section. You get a near max or max super from these missiles. I didn't get the perfect super. The perfect super actually involves setting off both of the missile turrets at once and getting through. But anyway, at that one, all the bots you have to kill are odd colors. They're either gold or blue, and as such, it isn't nearly as hard, although the generators here make blue bots. Anyway, if you are low on health and worried about that, you actually get health drops. In behind that door, there's a generator that drops health drops. So, I'm now going up, killing bots that I see, especially the purple ones, and dying because I wasn't careful enough, and I'm doing too much explanation. So, we're going to restart the level and show you through this mess again. But, other than the fact that I was a little less careful than I needed to be and took a little too much damage, that's about how you do the level. I was actually just about done with it. Other than the last portion, which does actually take some explanation, just a little bit, but it's pretty much TLDR, power your way through a really annoying lasers. How did a blue bot get up here? That's odd. So, now I've pretty much gone all the way through and down. Oh, wow. I totally forgot to set that off. Although I opened the door correctly, so it's not that much of a time loss, which is hilarious. Anyway, you're supposed to have actually set that off before you go here, and then set that off. Yeah, every time you open one of the doors, you have to set off a bomb trail that allows you to get to the next door. That's why you have to open all the doors. It's how it's set up. So, there we are. That's what I talked about with that energy generator. So, I'm here. Do super to kill you. Do super to kill you guys. Starting to get a little low on health, which happens a lot here. It is a place where you're going to take damage. So, I've probably opened the door now. Nope, not quite. So there's probably somebody being trolly up here. Yeah, like that little red bot might have been it. Could be that one. And as you see, I'm out of supers. I'm going to need at least one. But that's kind of okay. Yep, set off the bomb trail, and I got enough juice to get one super. One is all you need here. So you do a super right there, right before you hit the lasers, and that'll kill most of what you need, and you'll do one more to get here, and super the core to death. And there you are. That's how you beat the trolliest level in the game. I'm probably just going to leave me failing at it in the vid, because, well, it's a good way to explain how trolly that level is. Anyway, so this level I've actually redeveloped the strats for moderately recently, because I've figured out better spacing to do the clears more efficiently. So, fly to the right. Wait. Right then. Oh, my positioning was a little imperfect. That's where you should be. As you see, although I took a lot of damage that I probably didn't need to take, I've got a refill up there anyway. Just keep doing supers through here to open all this stuff. That's a max health right there. So that's why I'm not worried about the health situation. You do have to kill all these little bomb trails. Every little bomb trail there, you have to kill. So the objective here is just go through, make bigger supers when you can, because it's, the quicker way to kill a lot of stuff. And kill every single bomb trail to get all the way through. And I'm starting to run out of supers, so I have to be careful to get a big one in. There we go. So, I wasn't as careful to get the biggest supers as I might have, but that's a general idea of how you do the level. It was actually moderately slow in doing it. Oh, by the way, thanks you very much, Gabriel Paradise 83, for the follow. I really appreciate it. And welcome to the channel. I don't think I've seen you chat before. So, then after you've destroyed all of those, you go all the way around the outside, and if you didn't kill any single bomb trail, you'd be blocked in doing that. And kill the core. Core takes, I think, 3 supers. And thanks very much for the host, Gabriel Paradise. That's pretty awesome, too. So, next level, level 31. So, level 31 is a pretty simple little pathing level. The main tech in it is being able to dash through lasers. If you are not confident with your ability to dash through lasers, make sure to, kill them and do it a little slower. Because, yeah, you need to dash through lasers there, you need to dash through lasers here, and you need to dash through lasers here. And as long as you can dash through lasers, it's pretty simple. If you can't dash through lasers, you will run out of supers and die. Not kidding. It's actually very possible. Back before I learned how to properly dash through lasers, which I had to learn through trial and error. Yeah. Anyway, that's how you do the level. Seems pretty simple. So, this one. Switch to the lasers for reduction of lag, but there's going to be lag. I nicknamed this level Lag City. That is pretty much the real name of this level. Because you have to go up through all this stuff. When you start the level, technically every single block is a thing. Every block. But yeah, you've pretty much just got to get through all the blocks as quickly as possible, usually using a few supers when you get near the bombs, so you set off the bombs and don't damage yourself. Now, it gets so laggy here that it will actually drop inputs sometimes as a warning. It's one of the laggiest points in the entire game because there's just so much going on. So, you try to stay at the top of the screen and do as big of replies as you can. That one was a little bad because it didn't actually track him. But the reason why you stay up here is because if he goes down there, it gets really trolly. That'll kill, and that's pretty much how you do it. You see, if you don't stay right at the top and try to keep him at the top, you get down where all that stuff is, the stuff that you mostly tried to bypass and dive your way up through, right? When you get down there, it gets really, really laggy, and there's a bunch of unbreakable blocks in it, and he'll use those unbreakable blocks to effectively cocoon himself and make himself really hard to hit. You can lose minutes trying to force through a kill when that happens. Minutes. So, stay at the top of the screen, make him come to you. It may seem like it's a little bit slow. It's not. It's the fastest way. So, this level. This level's got a lot of really fun tech with a really unique boss. So, go to the boss, do a super nearly immediately right on top of him. The objective is to actually do it right on top of him, so your sprite is literally within his sprite. That is the goal, because then you can actually damage him in his shielded phase. Whoops, that was a little too early. So, when you are doing all those supers against him, it actually increases the chances that he's going to do a huge missile attack against you as opposed to a smaller one. Your objective is to try to kill him in one cycle, and do that by, if you get really lucky, replying to, killing him with attacks before his shields are even down, which would be the fastest, and is technically possible, but, shall we say, insanely impossible. See, I actually did damage there. It wasn't much, but it was some. Anyway. You just kind of keep doing supers at him, because like I said, the more missiles that go into his shield, the bigger his attack's going to be when he does his attack. And you try to be very near him, so you hit him like that to actually kill him. That's how you do it in one cycle. But his shield comes back up pretty fast. You have to be at almost that exact distance, just near enough to be able to do the reply and not get killed by the missiles. Because they will instantly kill you, because there is just too much damage there. So, yeah, it's kind of difficult. That is a stage that will reset you late in the run. But the stages out here, when you get up to this far into the game, they're almost all really hard. Note I said almost. I think there's one or two easy ones. Anyway, so, on to this one. This one is a moderately difficult stage, but it's pretty obvious what you have to do. It's just not the easiest to execute. Pure, raw execution. Why? Basically, go down. That's what you have to do. Go down. Just keep going down. Avoid as many obstacles as you can. You can't avoid that. You have to kill it. Keep going down. So, you have to kill that to keep going down. Keep going down. You have to kill those guys to get to these. Keep going down. Kill those. Get in the way. That specific bomb trail can be really trolly and hard to hit. Don't know why. Keep going down. Just keep, go as far down as you can before you super. Do a super. Keep going down. Have to kill that bomb trail. This is the end. Go as far down as you can before doing a super and do one. Keep going down. Do a big super using their missiles and then just keep spamming super until it's dead. Sometimes you run out of supers. Be careful with that. That's the stage. So yeah, keep going down. But the execution is not simple. So, on to the next one. Level 35. This is another pretty much pure execution stage. It's very obvious where you've got to go. You just got to do it. Go here. Trigger is, of course, those gold bots. Kill them. Go up. Trigger is the two lasers on the door. Keep going. About here, wait. Why? Do a big super. Why? The trigger is all of the mobile bots. Keep going. Go this way. Kill those. Go down. After killing those, do a super. It kills the next two rows. After killing those, do a super to kill that. Keep going. Kill that. Go this way. Go down. Over here, do a super there. Kills those bombs. They probably would kill you if it didn't. Blue bombs are powerful. Go to the core. Kill it. That's the level. So yeah, that one, it's very obvious what you have to do if you watch any of my record runs. There's nothing not obvious. Just do what I do. So, this one can be a little bit trolly because it will go one of two ways. You'll fire it up and you'll do a super. Then you'll do a super, and that was the nice way. You get to do another big super again, and that kills it. Why? Because a second set of missiles came out. If a second set of missiles don't come out, you pretty much have to wait until just after the fire bar goes through you and kill him that way. You lose about a second to a second and a half if you have to wait for the fire bar. So you don't lose much, but it's complete RNG and it seems kind of trolly. Anyway, on to 37. 37 is hard. So, bouncing lasers, whole level bouncing lasers. Run up, take a little hit from the laser, that's, you know, gives you the right spacing. And you just have a lot of stuff to clear and force your way through. It's best to go on the back side of that to get a minimum super that gets you through there. You do a pretty big super there because you need to power up this way anyway. Another super, power through, kill all those bots. Dive this way, dive down, keep going down. If you are a little bit slow, those missiles will own you. Dive all the way down. Do supers on top of that specific, well, either the one on the left or the one on the right, it doesn't matter. Pick one and do supers on top of that bomb trap until the core is dead. Because the first super will just go into the bomb trap, but after the bomb trap explodes, then you'll get a max super against the core. On to 38. So, 38 can be pretty trolly. It's not that difficult, but it can be trolly. So, you can do a super there. It's actually a touch faster to do so. So, see all these mobile bots down here? That's what you have to kill to open the door. It can be trolly because they can go the wrong way and go all kinds of crazy places and lose you like a minute. Yeah, like a minute. That's not exaggerating. So, there's about 5 of these gold bots you have to kill. They almost always congregate down there with you, so just go down there and kill whatever gold bots show up. It will work. Then you go here. It can be a little trolly casually because there are things that can fire at you that you can't possibly kill and you can run out of supers. But just kill the core. That's it. So, 39. 39. 39 is a really trolly boss. And the stage is moderately difficult as well and pretty long. So, it is a stage that can lose you a ton of time due to dying. So, start, dash up, that's where you go. Go this way. So, this isn't absolutely necessary, but is nice for the next section. Because this, you do actually need to kill the mobiles to get through this door. The mobiles and the missile turrets near it. So you want to do more minimum supers at that point to kill those 2 missile turrets. Otherwise, they will either kill you or force you into a max super that isn't useful. You want to do big supers here because pretty much all these mobile bots you have to kill. Because you have a door that you have to open, and they're the key. So, go around, kill the mobiles, clear out best you can. Go this way, more stuff to kill, and another bomb trail you have to set off. Once you set off those 2 bomb trails, killed all those bots, you go up here, make sure the door is actually open, and you go to the boss. So, this boss is trolly because you cannot directly approach it. You must attack it with your homing missiles, and it bounces all around and, you know, all kinds of stuff, including, you know, its own missiles from various turrets around fire at you. Running out of supers is a real possibility. You have to be very careful not to. The best way to not run out of supers is to get the biggest supers possible by only replying to the, you know, attacks you need to, and big ones you hope. If you run out of supers, you're probably just going to die. That's how you do that one. Nice to see you here, 79TA Kid. So, on to the next one. Not nearly as trolly, but still can be kind of bad. This one's hard. No 2 ways about it being hard. It isn't that trolly, though. It's just hard. So, the real key is actually the bots that are right near the door when you start, but they can move, so they can be a little trolly, but not terrible. So, you have to use your homing missiles here for best effect. Why? You see all that blue and all those lasers in the blue? The only way to kill the lasers is to use your homing missiles. So, that's the easy way through. Once you've gotten through that, you've killed the 2 bomb trails you have to kill. Just kill a few gold bots here and the door will open, usually. Come on, where'd you go? It's probably a gold bot that went somewhere trolly that I have to kill, which is really annoying. This is what happens when the level gets trolly. I got him. Okay, good. You can use supers to sneak your way through the lasers. Okay, so that was a little slow and trolly because I lost the gold bot I was supposed to kill to open the door. Oh well, it happens. So, kill bots, You can get a big super here, and you can use this to refill your health. Because you can get health pickups from supers there. That was the quick way to clear through. So, yeah, those missile turrets are big and can kill you. So, as you notice, I ran into one of the missiles trying to get between them. They're really close together. That's okay. Just get on top of him, spam supers. You might get close to running out, but you probably won't actually run out. It's a lot faster if he makes a second set of missiles. That's RNG. Can't do anything about it. So this one. This one has another really big skip, kind of like the skip all the way back at 11. That is really important. It saves you like a full minute and a half, I believe. So, pick up that invincibility. You don't really need to, but it makes it a lot easier and generally more consistent. Dive on through, following that path, going this way. That's one of the main reasons why the invincibility makes it easier, is those big gold bombs. You'll probably do a super there just to clear. This is the skip. What's the skip? See that bomb? You have to bring it down to you, being very careful, and then actually kill that. You want to kill those two things because they attract your bombs. That was the skip. Yay, we got it. So, this is a really annoying core if you don't know the trick to killing it, which is to angle in some missiles and kill these turrets that can fire at you. You do not need to kill every turret. You need to kill every turret but one. The last turret will just do that. You have to be just a little to the right or just a little to the left, basically just a little towards the turret that can fire at you, that you leave. And then, you notice I'm not doing any supers to kill this core. Doing supers is actually slower because of that really small aperture your missiles have to go through. You just have to fire at him that way. That's how you do that one. So, this one is another one that can be somewhat a little interesting and trolly, and has another skip, actually, from the intended route. So, get a lot of missiles towards you so you get a big super. Why? Because you got to kill all these purple bots that are around, and then all these turrets. I had that just about perfect. I only needed one really big super. Nice. So, you then fly up this way, get up to the top, and go as far this way as you can. You want those missiles. You want them near you to use them to kill this stuff quickly. I didn't quite put the super in the right place, but that's, that's the backup for it, shall we say. Go in, do a super there with your bouncing lasers to kill that bomb trail. Now, this is what the skip is that you only need to kill that one bomb trail. Killing that other bomb trail in front of him is like, it takes like a minute and a half to do all the crazy stuff they wanted you to do. But you don't need to. Why? The boss will once you wake him up that way. So, wait for the boss to go kill that bomb trail. And kill the boss. He's a lot like that boss back on, was it like 12, 10, 11, maybe 9? 9. He's a lot like the boss on level 9. And behaves the same way, but is a little tougher. But yeah, he behaves like the boss on level 9. That's how you do that one. So, 43. We're almost to the end. There are 44 levels in this game. We are on the second to last. And this one, it's kind of your respite before the end. It's actually pretty darn easy, as long as you know how to do it. So, bouncing lasers. Let's go. So, get in here. Wait for a lot of missiles to do a big super. Why? Gotta kill everything. So, once you get that, you can protect yourself with a super, but what you really need is to get that V. Get the V, start dashing. Go this way. It doesn't matter if you go down or up, down's a little easier. Go up here, you have to kill those 4 bots. Once you've killed those 4 bots, the door opens. The 4 bots that are right by the door. Keep going as far as you can with this, and with the invincibility. Once it wears off, do a super to get through the rest. Run this way. Here we are. Get a lot of missiles, get a big super. Do as much damage to the core as you can, and then just spam supers till core is dead. That's the level. Like I said, pretty simple. Hardest part was actually determining the exact trigger for that door to open. the one that opens with those exactly 4 bots that are near the door. It took me forever to figure out that freaking trigger, but I did. And that's what it is. It's exactly those 4 bots, nothing more, nothing less. So, last level. Last level. Last level is hard, can be trolly, and the boss is super trolly. I will be pausing during the boss fight and before the boss fight to... I'll probably just pause before, explain what I'm about to do, and then go do it. Don't be surprised if I fail. I fail even in real runs against the last boss. He's freaking hard. So, let's go. So, here we go. Start out, wait for some missiles, do a big super. Just the quickest way to kill that group. So, that also helps you to dash through these lasers and get 1 big super. Otherwise, do 2 supers. Do the same thing, dash through lasers, get 1 big super. Gets you through that section. Now you're over here. Do a big super. You have to kill all the bots that weren't made by generators. Yes, there are some reds that you need to kill as well as just the golds. Common misconception if you're worried about triggers. Go in here. You have to just force your way through. You want to do that as best you can without having things fall because it's quicker. But it's also trolly because sometimes bots can get places. So you notice I did a ton of supers there inside the fire bars because that generated health because I was a little low. So since I lost some bots, I have to go back over here, do a big super to kill those bots. And that, yeah, there we go, kill the purple one. That's what I meant by it can be a little trolly. So, you're through that, over here. Do 1 super there. Watch out for that gold. If you blow up that gold when you're next to it, it will kill you. Anyway, pick that up. You really, really, really want to have a full super meter at this point in the stage. Because you have to do supers to force your way through here. Well, you don't have to do supers, but it's a lot faster and a lot safer to do supers. So, now that you've done enough supers, you get through, you go over here. This area, a lot of stuff happening, but you just got to kind of force your way through to this area. The key is, again, mobile bots that start in the stage. Certain red bots. So, go here, do a max super to clear those bombs, traps, and get yourself a power-up or 2. Health fill-up or 2. Got a few more health fill-ups here. You don't pick those up unless you need them, or you're, like me, trying to do a little bit of safe strats and show off that they're there. Go through here. Just do lots and lots of supers, force your way through. All these bots near the end are the key to the door. Basically, all the mobiles that start with that aren't made by the generators. It does generate purples, makes it a little trolly sometimes. 1 big super is often the fastest way through that. Don't worry too much about your health at this point unless you want to, because you're going to get a full health power-up in just a moment. That's that full health power-up. You don't have to pick it up. I didn't because I'm pretty close, but that's your full health. Though this is the final boss. So, I'm going to pause here to explain the strategy of fighting that final boss. First, he starts with 2 supers, just like you. You're never going to want to do a super before he does his second super. How do you get him to do supers? Hit him. You actually have to hit him, not just the things he's firing. As you're hitting him, it's kind of nice if you can kill as many buildings as you can around. It'll make the later part easier. And his direct attack, which is bouncing lasers, is really, really powerful, and you can get max supers off of it really easy. So you're generally going to need at least 2 supers to get him to go into his second phase. Yes, this boss has a phase. This, basically, he gets an invincibility power-up just like you. When he's at about, I think it's close to 1/8 of his health. I've never really tried to figure out the exact number. It's just if you do enough damage, he gets a super power-up just like you. He's completely invincible in it. And he'll always generate usually exactly 1 super in it. And usually you then have to force out that super and then reply with your own and kill him. Continuing, and I'll show you what that means in action. So, got to try to force out that super we talked about. There it is. So, once you force out that super, you're going to have to do a few attacks. Usually your first attack's not going to go nearly as well as that one did, because usually you can force out his supers faster. So, he's probably going to kill me here. Nope, not quite. Okay, so he is now in his invincibility form. In this, as you can see, the easy way to keep him from killing you in this form is to keep dashing kind of a diagonal box around him and countering his attacks. If you don't do it perfectly, he's going to own you. So I did that because I could get the platform between us, and that allowed me to be a little safer, and so his reply couldn't kill me, and so I used my super to force out his super. It's a thing you can do in this game in general. And then after that, once I forced out his super, use a super and it will probably kill him. And if it doesn't, well, give him another one. If you notice he's got a super on the meter and you've waited that long, you're going to have to force out his super. Otherwise, it'll probably kill you. That's how you do it. Let's watch the credits. So yeah, this is a, honestly, somewhat ridiculous game to speedrun. It's really hard. There's a lot of difficulty in the movement. It's hard on your hands because of the way you have to keep double tapping to dash constantly. But it's a really fun game. Yeah, the poor English, by the way, is intentional. In all of the cutscenes, all of the text is actually intentional, English. That was a thing that was chosen on purpose for the comedy value. Because basically this whole thing, the whole story, it's meant to be a, sort of joking homage to Super Robot shows. But, as a speedrun, yes, the English is completely intentional. Anyway, so, as a speedrun, in my opinion, it's my first speedrun, so I can't really judge it against other speedruns, but this feels like a really hard speedrun as a speedrun. But it's very fun and fulfilling, especially for someone who likes shoot-'em-ups, but also likes speedrunning. Because most shoot-'em-ups are really bad speedruns. But this one, it actually makes a really good, really high-quality speedrun because of the way the game is set up. And I've had a ton of fun routing this, figuring out all those things I just told you about and showed you during this video and or live stream if you're watching it live. So I hope you've had a ton of fun watching, everyone. I'm probably going to cut the stream moderately quickly after these credits finish rolling and also finish up the video because I've been through the whole game with the tutorial. But if you have any questions, feel free to either comment on the video and or just show up in my stream and ask me. I am more than willing to help you if you want any help learning how to run this. I'm actually going to take a moment here to talk about the physical setup that I use, because I actually don't use a standard Dreamcast, although I do run on a Dreamcast, but it is a modified Dreamcast. The modification that I use is called a USB GD-ROM. It's a moderately expensive modification that allows you to effectively work like having a flash card. See, what it does is you can plug in a USB stick to it, and you use it to replace your GD-ROM drive, which is your optical drive on your Dreamcast, and you can then load effectively downloaded games onto it. Now, I do own a real copy of Bangai-O. Don't believe me? It's right here. Right here. This is the game. Okay, here's the box. Here's the game. Totally own this. I wouldn't run a game on that if I didn't, because, well, intellectual property does matter to me. But it is mildly better on load times and mildly more consistent to run the game that way. It probably saves approximately a full minute through the run, and so I'm going to continue to run it that way. Yeah, I'm probably going to do... I don't know for sure or what cuts and stuff I'm going to make, Drex, but, I might dub over some pieces of it and do